No, 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 no. So why did you leave me? Tell me, why did you go? Sometimes I'd rather to be alone than to share my love with someone who don't care. Now I swear I mean every word I say. Hey girl, if you really wanna play, then please don't play with me. Cause I'm of love and happiness, and I treat you with enough respect, my girl. And if you wanna make a step, just mind your fall. Baby girl, and hurt yourself, I say I'm love and happiness, and I treat you with enough respect, my girl. And if you wanna make a step, just mind your fall. Baby girl, and hurt yourself, I say I just want you to understand that you are the only one. And now that you're gone away for so long, girl, watch your step, I'm on your stepping on the top. You left me gone, tell me why you do me that. Me set myself, now me rising to the top. Them coulda never take me joy. Me got a lot of love and happiness, and I treat you with enough respect, my girl. And if you wanna make a step, just mind your fall. Baby girl, and hurt yourself, I say I'm love and happiness, and I treat you with enough respect, my girl. And if you wanna make a step, just mind your fall. Baby girl, I tell you sometimes I'd rather to be alone than to share my love with someone who don't care. I swear I mean every word I say. Hey girl, if you really wanna play, then please don't play with me. Cause I'm of love and happiness, and I treat you with enough respect, my girl. And if you wanna make a step, just mind your fall. Baby girl, and hurt yourself, I say I'm love and happiness, and I treat you with enough respect, my girl. And if you wanna make a step, tell me, why did you leave? Why did you leave?